Alright, I've tried making this video about 100 times now. I can't seem to get it right. First off, I'm going to say spoilers because I'm just going to be spewing stuff left, right, and center, and it's going to make no sense, and hopefully you guys can follow along. Everybody put on their tinfoil hats. Now, first things first, let me just go ahead and explain the story of what's going on in Five Nights at Freddy's 4. I was trying my hardest the whole time through just to figure out how does this link into the main story. And it wasn't until the end that I realized that this game was leading up to the bite of 87, where a child is shoved into the mouth of an animatronic, mainly Golden Freddy, by their older brother, and the animatronic unfortunately bites down at the time that this happens. So let me just go over what's happened. So firstly, he started as a child who's, of course, being bullied throughout the first few days. But it wasn't until the third day that stuff actually starts to happen. There will occasionally be an Easter egg, I think. I'm not entirely sure how it happens. Where you will see Purple Guy inside of a closet helping somebody get dressed up in the Springtrap outfit. And he looks very tired or worn out. Personally, I think that he may have actually been working there for more than a few hours, so he would be worn out at the time when you see him. One question that really came to mind a lot, though, was why are the children constantly there at the restaurant? If I remember correctly, like Chuck E. Cheese was this kind of thing that you didn't really go there all the time, but when you did, it was this awesome experience. Like you would go there from time to time. It wasn't an everyday thing, especially when the kid is completely terrified of it. He's completely horrified by these animatronics. And it's because of this that I started to put a couple of things together. First thing being that not only is Purple Jeremy Fitzgerald, but he is also your father. That's right, you play as the son of Purple Guy, otherwise known as Jeremy Fitzgerald. Now let me explain where I came up to this conclusion. If you look at the two timelines between Five Nights at Freddy's 4 and Five Nights at Freddy's 2, you can see that they link up especially well if you take the first 2 days of Five Nights at Freddy's 4 and move them off the screen. And then you just start day 3 and day 1 of Five Nights at Freddy's 2. So Jeremy Fitzgerald comes into work and is forced to work an extra day shift because someone quit right before him and now they need someone to fill in for a day shift. Maybe someone called in sick or something. So he's very tired at the time that you see him, and he doesn't really look like he's up for it. You see him dressing up a living person because when Scott makes dead people, they're very often gray with dark gray tears. So we know that he did not just kill somebody and stuff them in, especially not since he will eventually one day have to be put in that suit himself to die. It's not until the third night of Five Nights at Freddy's 2 that stuff starts to get a bit weird. The same night that the bite of 87 happens. The bite occurs, and member policies state,
upon discovering that damage or death has occurred, a missing person report will be filed within 90 days or as soon as property and premises have been thoroughly cleaned and bleached and the carpets have been replaced.
After the premise has been cleaned up, he then goes ahead and they find all the witnesses, move them away. They take the robot that was on stage that actually did the bite, they moved it away, and now rumors are starting to circulate, like, what is this story we're hearing about there being a bite, or where's this child? He doesn't show up to school or something, and why is there no robot on stage anymore? All these questions start to circulate around town, and people are starting to wonder. And that's why the rumors are starting to occur in the phone calls. But it's not until the next day that things start to really pick up. After the bite of 87 has already occurred, in the mind of this child, you hear Golden Freddy speaking to him personally and saying that he will put him back together, that he will fix him. And he's sorry for what he did. It's at this time on the outside world that you see all the animatronics start to gain sentience and become aggressive towards adults. almost as if trying to protect them from someone like their brother, who, at the time when you see him do the bite of 87, it looks a lot more like he's sort of a teenager rather than a kid. So teenagers and adults are a lot of times mixed up. It's at this time now you start seeing all the aggressiveness, and that the police have actually gotten involved now. They keep hearing all of these rumors around town and thought that now's the time to start investigating, and the place decides that it's time to close down for a little while this investigation is taking place. The next night, night 5, Five Nights at Freddy's 4 is done, and it is no longer a part of the story, but the aftermath of what happened there is still going on. It becomes locked down, and day shift person was fired. And the next day, as always, we see in time and time again in older games, is that Freddy likes to wait before attacking. He is very meticulous in what he does. He will sit on stage in the first game for 2 or 3 days before even moving for the first time. Sometimes even in other games too. He takes a long time before he decides to start working. He thinks out his plans. And you'll see 2 days later, after telling the kid that he will put him back together, lo and behold, Golden Freddy starts to attack. Night 6, the only night that you can see Golden Freddy actually doing something in Five Nights at Freddy's 2. The rest of the robots start acting a little bit weird too. That's because Freddy is now in action. When Freddy's around, the other robots tend to follow him like a leader. Freddy, he makes them a bit more aggressive. He pushes them to do what they normally wouldn't. And it's also at this time that they discover a lot more of what's going on. The place is supposed to be shut down at the time, only 2 days after they say they have closed down, that they're going to close down. And they realize that a yellow suit had been used. Previously in Five Nights at Freddy's 4, the first time that we see Jeremy, we see somebody was using a yellow suit. That being the purple bow, purple hat Golden Freddy. I believe this person to have probably been your brother, just because he chases you down and makes you collapse into the ground. That doesn't seem like something that any other person would do. And that there's one last birthday left before the place is going to be closed down for good. But because of the paycheck you receive at the end of Five Nights 2, it gives you a date of November the 12th, 1987. If you go back 2 days to the moment when the rumors started to begin, because everything was moved, people were moved away, and all the suspicious stuff started to begin, the night that I believe the bite of 87 occurred, that would put the date at exactly the 10th of November 1987, the day the bite occurred. Now you might start to wonder, why do these kids constantly every day come to this restaurant? Why are they constantly at the pizza place? And when you look at the house, you don't see anything that says that there might be another parent around, only a father or a mother. Now, if Purple Guy happened to have children and no significant other, I would see him bringing in his children to work every day so he could watch over them without them being at home alone, especially in 1987. So he brings their children to work even though he hates them. He brings you into work every time even though you know you hate it. Exactly what Golden Freddy says to the child. But he can't be helped because of course he needs to work. But even more so, that means that your brother and you, being the sons of Purple Guy, make you look very similar to him. Now, what have we been saying a little bit recently about Purple Guy being innocent? That there's a look-alike. Someone who looks very similar to him being Pink Guy. If you remember, the brother is the one who shoves your head into the robot and causes you to go into a coma, crushes your skull, and sends you to the hospital. That kind of situation, especially after everything the company policies tell them to clean it all up as if it never happened, this clicking into a bit of a psychopathic bully's mind would give him the leverage he needs to tip over the edge and start murdering children. Thus, we have a look-alike being the son of Purple Guy, because he knows he can get away with it, especially with his father working there, being forced to clean up everything after him. Even if his father knew what was going on, he wouldn't want to give him away because he's his own son, the only son that he has left. The other son is now crushed in the hospital, in a coma, and this is proven because the child you play as is not dead, but rather is in a nightmare this entire time in a hospital bed. You can see this by when you turn around in the game, and sometimes on the side of your bed you can vaguely see an IV sitting at the side of your bed. And sometimes it's flowers and pill bottles. If that doesn't scream hospital, I don't know what does. The fact that you have an IV in your room is probably the biggest thing. So perhaps Purple Guy isn't as innocent as we once thought, but he is still not the one committing the murders, and we know that Pink is easily mistaken for being his father. Maybe he looks very similar, and that can very well be the case, and that's why his color is very close, but not exact. This cleared up so much more of the story, and I hope that in the future, when they do the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, that it also clears up a lot of the story like it did. However, I don't think that we're ever going to know 100%. After all, we're only going to have theories and stuff, because that's how a good story usually ends. And if you want people to continue to talk about your franchise for years, that's what you have to do. And I think that Scott knows that. As for now, I'll leave you with this. Believe it or not, it is just a theory, or I could just be talking complete fluff, and I could be completely wrong and nobody knows what I'm talking about. But hopefully you guys understand, and I'm not sounding completely insane with this, and my evidence does hopefully match up. If you guys see anything wrong with this, or perhaps have questions, please feel free to comment and ask me about it. If you enjoy my videos, please do subscribe, and I will continue making whatever I can think of. Apologies too for my lack of consistency maybe in this video. I'm not kidding when I said I tried this a lot. I had to keep redoing and redoing this recording over and over, maybe up to perhaps 25 times before I actually got to this recording where I actually felt it was good enough to use. So again, apologies for that, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.